Well, we have had bad results for Labour overnight. This is going to be a real important time for a serious reflection for us, a period of proper, calm-headed reflection, because when you get elections results like this, it's really important that governments listen and respond, but we do so in a steady, thoughtful and reflective way.
They've forgotten who they were. They've forgotten the grassroots. They've forgotten what they actually stand for.
Anna Dixon, is it fair to say Labour are no longer the party of the working class?
No, we're absolutely the party of working people.
Oh, what a giveaway. Did you hear that? Did you hear that, eh? That's what I'm on about.
The Labour Party is unrecognisable from 2019 and it will never go back.
Fuck off.
Socialist Sunday greetings, people. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, we haven't had a Sunday live stream for a few weeks on account of me being in London for a period of time, but it's great to be back on a Sunday. Solidarity, everybody. Happy Socialist Sunday. What a great way to start as well. Stanley Beckett hitting us with a standard membership. Welcome. Hope you enjoy the perks and benefits of being a member. Do check out some of the exclusive content and stuff. Plenty more where that came from as well. Thanks again, Stan. Let's please give, if I can call you Stan, that is. Stanley Beckett deserves a very warm welcome in the chat, please, everybody. Doc Davies is with us as well. Nice to see you. And Floor Snake, solidarity, one and all. It's also great to welcome back Herbie Ranger and the Supersonics, the resident jazz quartet, providing the background music throughout the stream. Oh, I've really missed helping the boys lug all this gear up those stairs and into the studio. Yes, the piano, the whole lot. They are really here, I promise you. Wink, wink. Stan, thanks for digging into the piggy bank there. It's money well spent. We certainly do have a lot coming up on the stream tonight. I'll be talking about that as we get into Keith's Fondue Lounge, of course, where we always like to visit while we discuss what's coming up on stream. A few procedural matters to take care of first of all. Please hit thumbs up if you're just joining us on stream, like FSM Dog is right there, and I'm sure that you're hitting the thumbs up button as we speak. Great to see you, Dog. Also, please do fill out the poll, of course. Starmer's neck is now firmly on the line following these catastrophic, humiliating, devastating, crushing election results. But who would win a leadership challenge should one arise against Keir Starmer? Angela Rayner, who's already sort of spoken out against Starmer in the last couple of days. Wes Streeting, possibly. He's been particularly quiet. I have made mention of that on other streams. Noticeably quiet. My left eye sees all. Could that be significant? Is he about to potentially launch a leadership challenge? Could it be Andy Burnham somehow, if they manage to get him into a seat? Of course, in the past, in the run-up to the Gorton and Denton election, for example, by-election, Clive Lewis said that he'd be happy to stand down and allow Burnham to take his seat. Whether the residents of Norwich would be particularly up for that move or not, because Norwich is very far away from Manchester, right across the other side of the country to the east and south. But if they could somehow get him in, Would he be successful? At the moment, 67% of you think he would. Current early leader in the poll. Or do you think it could be Deputy Leader Lucy Powell, current deputy? There are 2 Mancunians on there, I assure you that's no bias whatsoever. I attempted to have 2 from each gender. But I think the Deputy Prime Minister is a good shout for a challenge as well. If you have any other suggestions for who you strongly suspect, then please do. And make your thoughts known in the chat. So if you are watching and have not subscribed yet, please hit subscribe. And just 1 minute later you can share your thoughts with us. Keep voting in the poll as you come in, good people. Speaking of good people, this is the current latest members list. We're on 98. I've slipped under the 100 mark recently. In fact, we're on 99 because we've had a renewal there. I will update that now, actually. Thanks again, Stan. So it's 99. Just 1 more to get to 3 figures. That'd be awesome if we could see that at the end of the stream, to be back into 3 figures. But thank you to everybody whose names you can see on screen. Thank you for renewing your own memberships, gifting to others, etc. Helping the community grow. So yeah, massive shout out however you contribute to the channel. Super thanks are available if you watch back later, but if you're watching live you can use super stickers or super chats. And for anybody, anywhere, there's the Buy Me a Coffee page in the description of any content on the channel. Speaking of which, just 1 more very quick plug. We did have a video out that was members first earlier today. Hope you managed to catch that. Sorry we didn't get it out as early as hoped. Had to make a slight edit adjustment after it had been uploaded, so I had to swiftly take it down. Won't go into too many more details. However, if my calculations are correct, that should now be live and fully public for everybody to be able to watch. So please check that out. And if you're watching on a mobile device, hit the thumbs up button and it should give you the option to contribute some hype points. Yes, depending on where you're watching, you might get that option. Please do consider giving us some of your hype points. Helps spread the video on the algorithm, and it doesn't cost you a single thing, just a few gestures, and there you are, you're able to support their channel. Thank you very much, people. Let's hear it again, Herbie. So masses of thanks to everybody who's hyped videos, commented as well. Commenting's very important to get videos some attention. Rock, yeah, is now in the chat as well. Tim Wilton Davies, nice to see your solidarity. Free Palestine, of course. Graham Turner also joining us. Fist in the air for Palestine, as always. And as always, here at My Left Eye, we stand in solidarity with Palestine and against the genocide. We can dig that.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
You're a good bunch, and the more you contribute towards this channel, the more it actually pisses off the aristocracy and the upper classes, which is an added bonus.
Socialists. Oh my God.
Okay, people will be getting into the Fondue lounge in just a moment. We'll be saying hello to Keith.
Hello.
Because it's not been a very good week for him at all.
Oh, God.
Yeah, just still in awe of the absolute hammering that they got at the elections. here we are in the aftermath. It actually feels good to come out of the other side of an election without having your head buried in your hands for some reason. Or a change. We've already had some pretty amusing things happen since the election as well, not just the results. So we'll be taking a look at those as well. Been quite an eventful week. Should we get into the lounge then and dip into some fondue? Thank you very much, Herbie. We'll be back in just a few moments. Now let's see what... Yeah, a few of you might have experienced a few moments freeze there, apologies. But here we are. Here we are once again. In the old fondue lounge. Well, he's finished, isn't he? There's no two ways about it. He really is done in for. He might not think he is, but he is. Party's over, pretty much. Not just for Scandalson at the back there, the whole rotten Blairite system is crumbling before our very eyes. Yes, Maggie Thatcher, your boys took one hell of a beating. Maggie Thatcher! Maggie Thatcher! Yeah, but it's apparently going to be relaunch time again next week. We've got that to look forward to. Starmer's he's gonna sort it all out, you know, there's nothing to worry about. He's gonna apparently give a rousing and stunning speech. A relaunch, the likes of which have never been seen before. But I heard a Channel 4 report earlier, and they summed it up quite well. They said that Keir Starmer is clearly no stranger to reboots and relaunches already. But this is going to be the biggest one yet, so really it means it this time for the 9th, 10th, 11th time in a row. Lammy as well seems completely disillusioned. I'll be going into that. Also on the last stream, we speculated how long it would take before Reform councillors elected on Thursday started to quit, and we've got the answer to that already. Yes, already. They begin to fall for a variety of reasons, some of which have more comedy value than others, but we'll take a look at who hasn't even lasted 24, 48, 72 hours, however long it was or has been since they resigned, either voluntarily or without their own accord. So the pushback against Starmer now is immense. Obviously, we've mentioned leadership challenges before. We're going to talk over the pushback from his MPs, over 30 of whom now, I'm led to believe, have called for his resignation. We'll see some examples that have been coming out over the last couple of days, both from within and outside of Labour. The unions as well, Michelle Graham, Eddie Dempsey, calling for Starmer to go. He hasn't got a political ally in the world. He's just going off pure hubris at the moment, it would seem. So desperate is he, and also, just to reinforce how obvious it is that he's completely out of ideas and has never had any in the first place, all that his imagination can muster is to bring Harriet Harman on board, and also, just because he might not quite be the loser that he hopes he'll be, he's reached out to record Labour loser, former Prime Minister Gordon Brown as well. Yes, Gordon, sell off the post office. Brown, that is, privatise the post office at a great loss. Also sell off our gold reserves at pretty much half price. Fuck a load of pensioners over, all of which culminated, and as well, of course, residing over the disaster that was the 2008 financial crash. But all of that led to a record loss for Labour so far of 91 seats. And I say so far because the Pratt serving the fondue here in a fetching cream and brown combination, smart casual wear, could surpass that record by some margin, should he stand at the next election. But that does look increasingly unlikely. Whoever is representing Labour is definitely in with a chance of breaking Gordon Brown's previous record of minus 91 seats. Canary, thank you very much for the 10 gifted memberships. I do have something coming up as well that I'm sure that you all appreciate in the aftermath of the elections. Congratulations again on the success that is for Plaid Cymru in the Welsh elections in the Senedd. Very good job at kicking Labour down and keeping Reform out. Thanks once again. That also takes us over the 100, which is another reason to celebrate. Go on, treat yourself, have a bit of extra fondue whilst we're in the mood for celebration. Excellent stuff. Let's adjust that total now. 108. Thanks again to Comrie. Give her a big shout out in the chat, please, everybody. Hope the new recipients enjoy the perks. Oh, it feels good to be back in 3 figures again. Oh, yes. Lost my track of thought slightly. Okay, back onto it. Also going to take a look at some of the voting trends from these local elections, as well as on a macro scale as well, on a national level. And also, I'm going to be talking about why it's obviously concerning that Reform have done so well. You can't help but be concerned if you're being realistic. However, there are reasons to be cheerful about these elections. There are also reasons to not think perhaps keeping the far right at bay is out of reach, or that perhaps other progressive parties can only hope for second place at the next general election, for example, or to be the main opposition to Reform. Also included that a bit more about how people are moving away from establishments, mainstream, whatever you call it, legacy parties, and onto newer horizons. So the party could soon be over for Keith and Co. We'll be back later, but that's all now for the Fondue Lounge. Ta-da, Keith. Let's bring back Herbie Ranger and the Supersonics. Thank you, Herbie. Comrie, you've got every reason to be excited. Please do express that in the chat. Nothing wrong with that. It's been a long time coming, of course. This is the first time that Labour have lost control of the Senedd since it was formed in 1999 under the devolved government, but it's the first time proper, of course, that there hasn't been Welsh Labour for a century, pretty much. Yeah. And, of course, falling just short of the majority in their own right, there are currently efforts for a coalition to get them over the line. So we will see. And like I said, do have a special nod to the Welsh coming up for that effort. So stick around. First off, though, a bit of a comedy clip. I've not actually watched this one before. It got added to the playlist, added to the stream. Someone, though, who I've put on the channel before. It's Intel Lady who did the great Sarah Ferguson one, you know, the book that nearly put me in the hospital with a hernia. And I'm going to try and not think about, so I don't corpse too much, because I've got a lot to think about and go into on the stream. So we'll kick off with this. It's another one of her interpretations of Angela Rayner, of course, who's going to be coming up again on the stream. Speaking of which, if you are just joining us before we get into the comedy clip, do vote in the poll. Currently, most of you still think Andy Burnham would win a leadership challenge against Keir Starmer, if there is one. So if somehow Burnham can get in, 50% of you think he'll be successful, 30% going for Streeting, 20% for Angela Rayner. Nobody thinking that Lucy Powell would challenge or win a challenge against Starmer. Let's see how things pan out. There is a link for Intel Lady on this video if you want to recap or check out more content. Do go and subscribe. It's right there in the description of the stream.
Hiya. It's former Deputy Prime Minister, proud Northerner from a working class background, basic instinct enthusiast, and now highly successful podcaster and part-time MP, Angela Rayner, and welcome to another no-brainer with Angela Rayner. Well, I am not going to sugarcoat this. We can't. We've had a bad week. It's been a bad result in the local elections, and in particular for my area, which is Tameside. It's Tameside, and that's been very difficult for us because it's now, unbelievably, after almost 50 years of being under Labour control, it's gone to the far right adjacent. I am staggered. I don't know how this has happened. I do not understand how that could have possibly happened. Our Keir did a speech earlier and he said, you know, let me be clear. We understand, we've heard you, we've got the message, we know what you want, we know that you want us to go faster and make these changes more clear and quicker and all the rest of it. And that's why I think the next obvious step is going to be free dinners and free teas for all the kiddies everywhere, because we've got to lift all of those children out of poverty, because that is obvious why people are turning to the far right adjacent, because they're just so disillusioned that they're having to give the kids the lunch and the dinners and the teas and that. It must be so upsetting for them, and that's why they've obviously gone to vote for Nigel Farage and his band of idiots. I am just stunned that this has happened the way that it has. I cannot believe what is happening to this country. I don't recognise it anymore. I just do not I don't know what people are thinking. They'd rather turn to division like this, divisionist flags everywhere and far-right ideologies, instead of sensible policies that we've been putting through and people have obviously appreciated. And until I went into schools, I went into a school and I sat down with a bunch of lads who had clearly not watched Adolescence and needed to be taught how to think. I sat them down and I said, lads, what are you thinking politically? And they said, well, we quite like the look of Nigel Farage and Reform. And I said, whoa, do you not realise that Reform are very they're going to trash the NHS, they're going to privatise it, you're going to have to pay. That is defo what's going to happen. That's defo what they've defo said that they're going to do. Despite what they say, when they say that they're not going to do that, they obviously are going to do that. And do you not realise that they're going to kill everybody in the process? That there's going to be death everywhere because of that apparently wasn't enough. And I've had to take that video down now, not because I've broken any rules or anything, but because the message clearly did not get across. And that is just unbelievable. I can't understand it. I really can't. I don't understand how this has happened. I did not see this coming at all. None of us did. None of us saw that coming. It is just truly shocking. But our Keir has said that he's got to stay put because he doesn't want to cause chaos. And that's That's the right thing to do, isn't it? He's hanging on like a dingleberry. He's going to keep hanging on like a dingleberry because that's the right thing to do. And we all agree. All of us agree. All of us in the Us Labour's WhatsApp group agree it's the right thing to do for him to hang on in there. And he should. He should hang on in there because that's what the public want and that's what all of us Labours want and the backbenchers want. That's right. That's the right thing to do. And we all believe that. We do. And I think we all need to stick together right now. And that's what we've been told to say. And that's what we're going to do. And we should. And there'll be a reshuffle. There will be a cabinet reshuffle. I look forward to being back on the front bench. I think that's where I, frankly, need to be right now. Because if anybody is going to warn the public of how far-right adjacent everybody is becoming, it's got to be me. We have got to continue to shame white working class people into voting Us Labours again and staying away from the disgusting far-right adjacent Reform UK. We've got to. I'm the one to do that. And if I'm back on that front bench, I can gob off at anybody who starts coming out with absolutely ridiculous patriotic nonsense when we all know it's just far-right rhetoric. So I need to be back on that front bench. So I hope when the reshuffle comes that is where I am going to be. Because do you know something? It doesn't matter what people say and it doesn't matter what people do. Us Labours are going to continue to go from strength to strength. I'll see you again on another no-brainer with Angela Rayner. That's the right thing to do, isn't it? He's hanging on like a dingleberry. He's going to keep hanging on like a dingleberry because that's the right thing to do. And we all agree.
Intel Lady, yeah, link in the description. Go and subscribe. He really is a dingleberry. I'm not sure if those Us Labour's mugs are actually for sale, but check out Intel Lady's socials if you want to find out more. Big Jerry, welcome to stream. Yeah, send all the billionaire, oligarch, robber barons, fascists, maggots, and rightoids to Mars forever. Yeah. Elon Musk wants to go to Mars. That's fine by me, because we won't be seeing him again if he does. Flow Snake, nice to see you. Yeah, of course, reshuffles were mentioned in that clip. Won't be surprised if that's part of this mighty relaunch, reset that's going to be coming perhaps on Monday, perhaps as early as tomorrow. He did say within the coming days. Within the coming days! So we'll wait with bated breath, Keith. I'm sure it's going to be absolutely... I'm sure that it will go down in the annals of history amongst all of great speeches from historical political figures. Martin Luther King, JFK. Just absolutely, truly, historically legendary. Or it will just be the same old robotic drivel. You know the phrases we're looking out for. Deliver the plan for change. Same old, same old. That's Keir Starmer.
He's an asshole, sir.
In fact, what do we have here? On to reform in a moment. Let me just make sure this... Oh, here we go. Yeah. This is... He's done an op-ed. And, yeah, this is what's going to be happening, so... These election results don't mean tackling left or right, but delivering for the whole country, says Keith. He also adds that in the coming days he'll be setting out our path to break with the status quo. Once he's fucking Sir Keir Starmer and his path to break with the status quo. Formerly Director of Public Prosecutions, served on Queen's Council. Yeah, really wants to break from the status quo. Once and for all, by building a stronger and fairer United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. I'm sure that really is a riveting read, a real page-turner. Can't say that I've subjected myself to the article itself. I just saw that being shared around social media earlier. So he's got straight on it. This calls for immediate action. Keith springs into action. Harriet Harman, she's on board. Loser Brown, he's on board. Tell us what to sell off for half price and how to fuck over pensioners, Gordon, please. And I'm going to get straight into the mainstream press with a absolute page-turner of an op-ed as well. What could go wrong? I'm sure that'll work. No, it won't. Speaking of things that won't work, that is people who were representing Reform on Thursday very briefly finding themselves as councillors and now all of a sudden are not. And I think it was maybe Andy Carter or someone in the chat on the last stream said that if the option was given in the poll that we had about how long it would be before Reform councillors started to step down, the hours option would have been the one that he'd have taken, would have actually been correct, because days, weeks, months, no, forget about it, almost straight away, within hours. Here's one of them, one of the first three who went within 24 hours, or more or less immediately, announced the resignation. One of them was for unknown reasons. Another one actually was currently has criminal proceedings being made against them, which is why they've been forced to resign. And this guy who just pretty much signed on as a paper candidate, didn't expect to win, and his seat in Bradford, not sure which Bradford seat it was. It certainly wasn't Shipley, because they took a 65.2% hammering off the Greens, of course. But Daniel Devaney has resigned already, saying he doesn't want to be a councillor, and he's gone away on holiday. That's a vacation, if you're watching in the States. You couldn't script it. Well, we did, pretty much, between us on stream. So in this case, you could script it. But that's not the worst of it. No, not just those three. There's more. These five, whomever they are, I don't know their names, I don't care to know. 5 pricks who decided to put 5 white dudes, whitey doody, who decided to put the names down for Reform, have resigned today. That's another 5. Certainly wasn't worth finding out what their names are either. There's another. Oh, there was. I've got a bookmark here as well. Just give me a second. Yep, there are more. There's more. They are so bad. Sunderland councillor has also been forced to resign. This one actually made the BBC homepage, actually. Just load this up now, yeah. This is over, well, you know, again, who would have thunk it? Who would have guessed it? So unlike reform and the message and what they're all about. It's over allegations of racist abuse. Fetch ye smelling salts, good people. What are they like? Bloody hell, you just... So messed up, isn't it? So atypical as well, in the same fashion. It's not a long article. But Glenn Gibbons, who's also previously been known as Gibbons on some of the party material, is accused of posting racist comments online. He represents the Hilton Castle Ward on Sunderland City Council. Well, he was elected to on Thursday. And Durham leader... Oh, God, he's such a fucking little fuck, isn't he? Darren Grimes, who's the deputy leader of Durham County Council, if you can believe that, said that Gibbons... You know what I'm talking about, desk wank. That guy. GB News fuck piece. Said Gibbons had been suspended from the party. However, a spokesperson for Reform UK said this was not correct and that the investigation is still ongoing with no decision made yet. So they're already disagreeing on whether he's... No, he fucking has been suspended. I'm fucking telling you. Someone else is coming back on some sort of technicality. No, but looks as though he has been suspended. Tice is trying to play it off as a smear. He says, I condemn anything that is wrong and inappropriate, but the key point is voters have heard all of this smearing and sneering against all of us, and they voted for more reform because they want action, they want delivery, and they're sick of the failures of the Tories and Labour. It's not clear what he said, who's racist towards, or allegedly, that is. But then Tice comes back and immediately after saying, oh yeah, typical slurs, typical this, he calls the Green Party anti-Semitic there. That is the same Green Party that is led by the only Jewish party leader that currently exists in the UK, Richard. You idiot. Yeah, Richard Tice there.
He's an asshole too, sir. Gun is made first class. Philip asshole.
So it's looking like around 10. I think there are a couple more. I don't have them sort of uploaded onto the broadcast software. But rumours around of other suspensions or just refusal to take on the post in some cases. Not a good start. Not a good start for reform. As we saw a little of Starmer's denial and attempt to plod on, plough through. It appears David Lammy's also also following that line of defence against these catastrophic results. He was in an interview with Politics Joe. This little snippet here is in our last video, which just went public earlier. Check it out, another plug for that one. But again, he seems completely detached from reality, not just in terms of the very foreboding poll concerning his very constituency, his seat itself, but in Haringey, which is in Tottenham, they took an absolute battering on Thursday as well. Either that information hasn't gotten through to him, or he just really does have his head buried so firmly in the sand that you can only see him from the ankles up at this point. So let's see the clip and then the actual reality itself.
I can 100% tell you, knowing my seat as I do, that there is no prospect of the Greens taking my constituency.
100%. That's what he said. I'll just play it again because I want to point. Again, this is in the video, but most recent video on the channel. Check it out.
I can 100% tell you, knowing my seat as I do, that there is no prospect of the Greens taking my constituency.
No, yeah, the interviewer here from Politics Joe. Shout out to Politics Joe. There's a link in the description. Of course, do go and subscribe if you're not familiar with them. He's heard a lot of bullshit from all kinds of MPs in the past, but this is a whole new level of denial. It really is, because this is after this result came in from Haringey. 28 seats going to the Greens, 21 to Labour, and just 8 to Lib Dem. That's absolutely denying that the Greens have come in, stormed in fact, and now hold the most seats in the council in the area which he represents. This is also how things are projected to go for his very seats the next time we have a general election in Tottenham. The Greens would gain with around a 4% lead over Labour there. You can see at the moment. And on the ascendancy, with Labour continuing to tumble, more than a 25% drop that Lammy looks like facing. So you have to, of course, consider those trends, those trajectories would mean that there'd even be even more separation between the Greens and Labour. He just hasn't got a clue. He spends all of he's got such the Westminster life at the moment. Complete disconnect with the public. Of course he is and always has been a total careerist. I think he believes that, emanating resilience or strength as he sees it will somehow make voters in Tottenham think that Labour aren't so shit. It's a very poor defence, and again, I don't think it's going to work out for Lammy. Oh well. Yeah, you're always guaranteed bullshit and waffle where Starmer's, where Lammy's concerned as well. Bilderberg, welcome to chat. Old and all father, excuse me, even is with us as well. Do we have any Haringey residents in chat or Tottenham? Let us know. Although we do have quite a few Londoners who watch. So yeah, make your presence known. I did say as well, of course, that we'd have a tip of the cap to Wales for their excellent results in the Senedd election. Labour out for the first time in history, and if they can form a minority government, that is, Plaid Cymru will have control of the Senedd for the first time as well, so fingers crossed. But in either case, these are historic times. Let's see this very emotional moment as things played out on live TV during an interview, and a very rousing rendition of the Welsh national anthem took over the entire room.
We put together a programme for government that we feel is radical enough for people to feel is different and is ambitious, but one that's deliverable too. I am confident that now we're able to move ahead to deliver that.
Excellent. You can't help but be moved by that wherever you're from. Great results as well, coming from Wells. Sorry, I did say it was filling the whole room, but it was in fact outside. It doesn't take away from the fact that that was a very excellent, spontaneous rendition of great voices as well. Even the dog joined in. I don't know if you noticed. And a few harmonies in there. Great stuff. Great stuff. Yeah, nice tune. Better than, the Imperial one. In fact, the British National Anthem is the only one that asks for a deity to protect the sovereign. Did you know that? Yeah. Talk about being stuck up your own arse. Anyway, as things continue to get bad for Keith, the pressure ramps up and it's an all-out attack on Keith now, coming from all sides. We'll start with those outside of the Labour Party, excuse me, but of course over 30 MPs have now called for him to resign from within Labour, and one has made a particularly strong ultimatum that should happen by tomorrow. We're going to take a look at that. Catherine West did that, pretty much announced it on television, but first of all we're going to see a couple of short clips, the first of which is Green Party co-deputy leader Mothin Ali. I do have another clip from the other co-deputy leader later in the stream, but he's been on the media rounds as well and is doing a good job at twisting the knife where Starmer's concerned. He's got to go. He really has got to go.
I don't think Labour have a very popular leader at the moment, or potential for a popular leader. The Labour Together faction have very much control of the Labour Party, and I think they're teeing up Wes Streeting as the next leader. And Wes Streeting, you're just going to get a repetition of Keir Starmer, and it's proven unpopular with the voters. I think.
Okay, so he thinks Wes Streeting, of course, as I said, well, he's one of the options in the poll, of course. So has to be considered. But he has been pretty quiet. He's been very quiet of late. Not just since the Mandelson thing, but just in general. Is it the hiding in the wings? Perhaps waiting for a stealth attack? Having quiet conversations behind closed doors with people, trying to get some backers, and not really throwing in his 2 cents on the election results or any of the other crap that Labour have had to answer for over the last, several weeks now. Because normally he certainly likes being on the radio, being on the television, doing all of that stuff. But he's been uncharacteristically elusive of late, and Mothin Ali certainly suspects something as well.
Reform have actually peaked. Their vote share actually fell. So in 2025 it was 32%. In 26 it's something like 27%. Our vote share has come second as the Greens. We're at 18%, above the Conservatives and the Labour Party. So I think it's now time that we really know that the only challenges to a far-right government are the Greens.
He's right. You have to sort of accept that now, whomever your allegiances lie with. These results only reinforce that. We wouldn't have seen the ascendancy of reform if it wasn't for the way that Labour have acted in their 2 years, or the Tories in the 14 years before that. Sorry, just to update the chat. Sorry for the lag. Heddy's with us. Solidarity, brother. A pleasure to see you as always. Yeah, there's only one real remedy now to stop reform getting in, and that is the Green Party. However, like I said, I'll be coming on to reasons to be positive, reasons to think that that is certainly achievable. That is, I'm not just talking again about the Greens being opposition to reform after the next election, talking about preventing them from winning and potentially winning themselves. I'll remind anyone who's not a regular viewer or hasn't heard me say before that I'm not actually a Green Party member, though I have voted for them multiple times before. I do know a lot of Green councillors. Was actually friends with the Green candidates to parliamentary level as well, one or two. I know some people have the reservations about Zach Polanski. I will say that, of course, I've heard that from various people, but I think perhaps a lot of that is certainly overstated, and you can't deny what he's done to the Green Party. Of course, Zach Polanski would know that if he didn't follow through on manifesto pledges, this kind of thing, he'd get the same treatment as Keir Starmer has done. And yes, he did used to be with the Lib Dems, but it is not, unknown that people can change their position on the political spectrum and whatnot. He does come across as a genuine guy, and in terms of policy and efficacy, you can't really look past the Greens. You can't deny their success. I'm getting really tired of the establishment bringing up this whole hypno-boobs thing, and all these pathetic barrel-scraping examples. So yeah, I'm happy to support what seems to be the only political vehicle at the moment for keeping reform out. And of course, I bumped into Polanski myself once with Hannah Spencer during their campaign rally in Gorton and Denton. Zach Polanski's a fan of this channel as well, by the way. But he's not the only one who knows that Starmer's got to go now. Here's a little clip from RMT leader Eddie Dempsey. Replaced Mick Lynch. And he was in Wakefield when he gave this great speech. Labour lost 56 councillors in Wakefield, so this was an open goal as it was, but he did, as always, give another great speech, as he does as the great orator that he has, Eddie Dempsey.
It's now time for for Keir Starmer to go. It's time to go. And not just him. He's got to go. He's got to take the last of Blairism with him. They've all got to go. We've got to have a clear out root and branch. A lot of them and all their works have got to go. We need a new politics. We need a movement that's going to put our class first, not the interests of the super rich jet-setting around the world. You've only got to look at what happened during the cost of living crisis. What was that animal Manderson doing? He was campaigning for bankers to keep their bonuses whilst nurses were being thrown out of their homes. That's not our movement. Those are not our people. They don't represent us, and we want change.
Excellent. Yeah, great stuff. I've seen him speak in person as well. God, it was a good few years ago now when he was deputy leader of RMT in Manchester. That was. It was actually at the. Do you remember the Enough is Enough thing, which sort of never really came to anything apart from, God, what was it? So many hundreds of thousands of people signed up to it. But here we are now. He did give a great speech at that thing as well. I was there repping JSO, I believe, at the time. Yeah, back in the day. Wow. Memories, good memories. But certainly if Eddie Dempsey never got into politics, he'd have a career in narrating adverts for home improvement retailers. Great orator as well, great points there. But we do need a new system. We do need a new system. Again, regular viewers will know that I'm firmly behind the idea of citizens' assemblies, a people's house, a citizen's house, house of the people, whatever you want to call it, something really more representative of the population than the House of Lords, for example. Even the House of Commons, you know, the name is such an oxymoron, because it's certainly uncommon to earn at least £93,000, plus whatever you're getting brown envelope-wise, and briefcases, trench coats, underground car parks at nights, that kind of thing. Yeah. Not common, not representative. It's just a pit of careerists, corrupt opportunists who take backhanders from all kinds of reprehensible people. And we're talking about the very worst kinds of people in the fucking world here. Genociders, war criminals, this kind of thing. Some of the worst polluters as well. The companies that contribute the most towards climate change, and they don't care, and a lot of them sell themselves off pretty cheap. And well, in Nigel Farage's case, just random example, if you can get him to do all kinds of things on Cameo, those things that he keeps getting caught out on, what is it, 80 quid, yeah? Just imagine what 5 million donation from dodgy cryptocurrency bastards actually gets you. For example, on Cameo, someone managed to trick him into what was it? Doing a tribute to the IRA. Another one was, I think, a birthday celebration or something, but made out to Mr. Hugh Janus. Another celebrities, you know, who've been convicted of noncery as well, that he keeps getting caught out. I think it was Ian Watkins, one of them. I'm not sure if it was. But that sort of thing, you get the idea. That's 80 quid. What about 5 million? Just completely soulless, complete sellout. Most of them are complete prostitutes, basically, for lack of a better word, in the political sense. Sharon Graham was out earlier on the news rounds. I don't have the clip, but she was equally visceral in her attacks on Starmer. And my point is, unfortunately, you know, Unite, who Graham represents, are still funding Labour. They reduced it, yeah, recently, but are still funding them, and they keep making the idle threats. I don't think you can sort of tiptoe around the edges where this is concerned. You have to turn round to Starmer now and say, look, we're going to take it all. We're not going to give you a penny anymore. And they're already losing so much in terms of membership compared to the Corbyn era. That should really be what grabs Starmer by the balls and gets him to act. Because, of course, the Labour Party and the unions used to be extremely intertwined. They were set up as former union reps, etc., by Keir Hardie. So, to see the state of it now is truly awful. But if they're going to have the voice heard, that is the unions, they've really got to follow up on the threats and just take every single penny away. Then you might get Keir Starmer's attention, because until then he's just going to keep on taking the piss. I've already mentioned once or twice on stream, it's been in the clips as well, Catherine West, who was the first one to come out and basically make an ultimatum to Keir Starmer, to say, well, not to Keir Starmer, to the cabinet, to say if they can't collectively sort out a leadership challenge amongst themselves by tomorrow, then she's going to launch a challenge herself. Let's see the ultimatum, and then that's going to be brought up and referred to in a lengthier interview on Sky, I think it was earlier, with Richard Bergen, who is also calling for Starmer to step down. But first we're going to go with Catherine West.
This afternoon I would like the Cabinet to come round the table and elect a leader amongst themselves. Without humiliating the current leader, Keir Starmer, he also should have a role perhaps doing international affairs, but we need someone from within the Cabinet to step forward as the leader, and then we will have a new leader of the party without having to have a leadership election. If that cannot happen, and there are no leadership hopefuls who come forward tomorrow, then Monday morning I will put my name forward to stand for the leader of the Labour Party, and I will be seeking the 81 names that are needed to take to the party chair, and I will begin a leadership election.
Well, there it is. I'm pretty certain that there won't be any sort of response. The demand that she's making there won't be met from any member of the Cabinet, so she's pretty much going to have to go it alone.
Afternoon.
Just a sec. So I'm guessing, as much as I would like to see the back of Keir Starmer, this wouldn't really be effective. She wouldn't really be able to get the big names and big people behind her, I think, or, you know, even get towards the 172 that would be required to trigger a vote of no confidence. But if she did just launch a petty leadership challenge herself, I could kind of see it being akin to the John Redwood one from the 1990s. I don't know if you're familiar with that example. He challenged John Major, and this was as the country was going into recession. In fact, we almost got removed from the European exchange rate mechanism at the time. There was great dissatisfaction, of course, coming from within post-Thatcher Conservative Party. John Major turned around and called for the rest of his MPs to basically either put up or shut up, which were, I believe, his exact words at the time. John Redwood then stood up. This is the same John Redwood who once famously, as Welsh rep, tried to mouth along with the words of the Welsh national anthem and failed miserably. I don't know if you're familiar with that clip. That was the same guy, I believe. But he wasn't very successful in his leadership challenge, is my point. He didn't really get any of the big names that would have still been around at the time. You're talking about Heseltines, those kind of names. But I think it did the same for Catherine West. And should that happen, and if Catherine falters and Starmer comes out the other side, he might sort of see that as the end of this whole charade, and that he's free to carry on as being leader without scrutiny. So I think whatever Catherine West decides to do, anybody in the cabinet who had plans for a direct challenge themselves shouldn't be put off by this, because they'd be a lot more effective in getting Starmer out. It'd just be changing the deck chairs on the Titanic, of course. I'm not under any illusion that just seeing Starmer out would completely change Labour's direction. They'd still carry on with the austerity-based policies, so on and so forth, the neoliberal, Blairite, Thatcherite trash that most of us have had through all of our lifetimes. It's not going to be the ultimate remedy. It would be purely for satisfactory purposes for me, considering what he did to Labour, what he did to Jeremy Corbyn as well. He would be out. He doesn't have an interest in politics. He only got into it to undermine Corbyn, become leader himself and move Labour to the right, which he has done in no uncertain terms. He doesn't have an interest in serving the people of Holborn St Pancras, so he wouldn't sort of linger on the backbenches for very long before he removed himself from politics entirely. I would imagine, if it goes that far. So that's just what I think about Catherine West's initial challenge. Let's hear, like I said, what Richard Bergen thinks about it. He is still actually a Labour member. I've said many times that I think he should walk away and become an independent. I'm certain that he'd hold his seat, which is in it's in the Bradford Leeds area, I believe. He's always spoken out against Starmer, but he's just never really put his money where his mouth is and said that he can't represent Labour anymore. Considering what's happening here at home and in the Middle East, he has, of course, raised Palestine many times in his critique of Starmer and the UK's complicity in the genocide. So, if you're watching by any chance, Richard, you'd keep your seat, so it's safe to say you can step down. Let's check out the interview, though.
Let's bring in Labour MP Richard Bergen, who joins us now. Richard, good to see you. Appreciate you making time for us. Bridget Phillipson there saying that the change in leadership wasn't the answer. You publicly have disagreed with that, saying that there should be a new leader by the end of the year. The question for you, therefore, is what do you make of Catherine West's approach to this process? Do you support it? If so, why? If not, why?
Well, Catherine is expressing the deep frustration held by many Labour backbenchers, many Labour MPs, Labour councillors, including now so many former Labour councillors, Labour members and Labour voters across the country. Where I part company from her, though, is the way of sorting this out. I think we need a full democratic process. Earlier on today on Sky, Catherine said that her preference was for the Cabinet to decide who the new Prime Minister should be, a kind of palace coup behind closed doors.
Yeah, he's not talking about a general election. Of course, he's thinking about a much more official vote of no confidence kind of scenario. Well, do I have it to hand? One of the reasons, of course, I think I can get it, just give me a sec. One of the reasons that they wouldn't want a general election is, of course, because Labour would be at least the third biggest party according to the translation of the local elections, also as well as recent polling. So I've showed this before on stream, but just as a reminder, it's in the video as well. If a general election were held now, and the same kind of results that happened this week came at the ballot, this is what we'd be looking at. Just need to drag that down. So in fact, Labour will be in fourth according to this translation. This is a BBC estimate as well, of course, no spurious find out now poll or anything like that, who keep, you know, in some examples, Reform are going to win 450, 500 seats. No. Let's also, and I'll be going on to this in more detail later, let's also not forget that Reform actually got less of the vote share than they did last year, and at a national level are on the wane. Nonetheless, they will come out on top with a 26% vote share. Here, the Greens would be the official opposition, pipping the Tories and Labour both on 17% with Lib Dem on 16%. But it's very, very safe to say that wholesale rejection of the legacy parties is what's going on there. So they're not going to want, I'm sure even Richard Bergen will want a general election. I'm going to have to wait another day or two, I think, before I give my official estimate as to whether it looks like they'll get the 172 signatures required to trigger a vote of no confidence officially. So stay tuned.
I think that would be completely wrong, both in terms of the lack of democracy in it, but also in terms of it wouldn't provide the person needed to turn this round. I think we need to be clear that anybody who's been a member of Keir's top team won't be able to show to the public that they amount to a fresh approach.
Keir's top team. Yeah, even if he goes, you know, Cooper's going to do NHS now, streeting Europe, blah, 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 blah. Top team, quality candidates. Look at them. Look at the cabinet. Most of them are Labour friends of Israel, directly funded, lobbied by Israel. They've taken tens of thousands of pounds that we know of from these very lobbies alone. You look at Wes Streeting, who I just mentioned, of course, taken very large amounts of money from private healthcare firms. Don't get me started on Palantir, these kind of horrible, ghoulish organisations that are so encompassing and just all-powerful. It's very scary, and the reason that they get to such heights of power is because that's facilitated by people like the politicians I just mentioned. Any so-called top team that Starmer could put together is just basically like rearranging, you know, just like stirring dog poo into cat poo, really, and thinking that changing the consistency is going to make it any better, which it isn't. They're stuck in a loop. They're stuck in a cycle. They're out of they're out of ideas. And that's what you get with disingenuous politicians, careerists. They don't have a heart, they don't have a soul. They just try and go which way the wind blows to get into power in the first place, and then they don't have a clue because they don't have a moral compass whatsoever. They're all completely and utterly reprehensible.
And a clean start after people have been disappointed so much over the last 2 years. So what we need is, rather than what Catherine has proposed, either a cabinet stitch-up or a very swift leadership election over the next week or so, what we need is for Keir Starmer to accept responsibility, set out a timetable to go by the end of the year, and then we need to have a full and democratic process involving all wings of the party. Now, that also means, by the way, changing the anti-democratic rule that Keir Starmer brought in to shore up his own position, where he doubled the number of MPs required to get onto the ballot paper. We need to return to how it used to be, the normal way of doing things.
Of course, he parachuted in so many of his pals. He actually did that with one of his relatives. I can't remember which relative it was, but they were put into a safe council seat and won. The seat was held on Thursday. So even just recently we've seen more examples of that, and that's got to stop happening. Luke Akehurst is another one of the famous ones. Parachuted in. Many of these replaced previously elected candidates as well, who had a mandate from the public. And again, you know, Labour's NEC and CEC should be completely and utterly ashamed of themselves.
In the Labour Party. And then we need a full process, which doesn't just involve members of the cabinet or even MPs, but involves our trade unions as well, involves our party members as well, involves, as well as that, Labour councillors, and Labour councillors who, through no fault of their own, lost their seats because of Keir Starmer just a few days ago.
I have about 3 or 4 minutes, Richard, so apologies for kind of moving us along. With regards to a leadership change, you'll be well aware that many people...
just before he goes on with the question, I just want to point out as well, I think at a local level, a lot more of the councillors, maybe I'd hope that the party could go back to its democratic socialist roots, but certainly at a national level, that's been lost, and I hope that, well, it's a bit too late now, but that those councillors thought that what's happening at a national level couldn't affect them. You know, if they could all keep it democratic socialist at a local level, things would be okay. That dream, again, that illusion is shattered, and believe me, I've had several conversations with councillors over recent years about why they are still representing the Labour Party, and that's the general vibe that I get, really. Also, when you look at the stats, I think there's a lot of support for that argument as well.
Probably voted for your party because they were fed up of that with the Conservatives. They'd had enough of a revolving door of leaders, of the psychodrama, as it was so often dubbed. Do you really think that this is in the party's best interest to potentially get on that wagon that so many people didn't want to see rolling through politics?
Well, you're right, and that's why we can only make this change once, and that's why we need to get it right, and that's why I'm worried about the process that Catherine has set out, because, you know, like lots of us, she's frustrated, but the process she set out could easily be exploited by people on the right of the party who do want to stitch up, who don't want a full democratic choice, and want to carry on down the same path, which I think will end up with us, unfortunately, having Farage in number 10 and a Trump-style government in the UK. So I think we need a fuller democratic process with all wings of the party in it, and that needs to be set out by the party. And
just whatever it is, just do it quickly, okay?
That needs to be completed by the end of the year, so we can take the fight to to reform with a fresh start.
Come on, not got till Old Lang Syne's ringing out or whatever. It's spring, God's sake. No, off the back end of these results, by rights, he shouldn't really last through the summer. Not some lengthy process that's being described here that would take us towards the end of the year. I'm not down with that. There's 4 million kids in poverty, for fuck's sake.
With someone who's not been implicated in any of the unpopular decisions made by Keir Starmer or in any of the scandals that we've been mired in over the last 2 years, which have disappointed people so much who wanted a clean break from the Tories.
So if it's not someone that's been at the top table under Sir Keir, we could then, by proxy of elimination, potentially rule out Wes Streeting, for example, on that basis. You could potentially rule out Angela Rayner by that basis, on that example. Who then? Are you saying that we need to find, from the Labour Party's perspective, a door open for Andy Burnham? That's what an awful lot of your members would say. Who would you like to see lead the Labour Party? Because if it's not the top table, who is it?
Well, I'll make my decision once we see who's on the ballot paper.
All right, here's a scenario. I brought this up previously, but just because it's been mentioned by him before, for example, and he's actually coming up in the next clip, Clive Lewis steps down in his Norwich seat. Andy Burnham of Manchester, hundreds of miles away, stands there instead. The people of Norwich go, what kind of a fucking swindle is this? We didn't want to vote for Clive Lewis and get Andy Burnham. They completely reject Burnham. And then Labour really haven't got a pot to piss in, have they, if all of the hopes and dreams were amalgamated into the Mayor of Manchester, Andy Burnham. Then what are they going to do? Talk about putting all your eggs in one basket. That is what it would be with Burnham. And ironically, it could be potentially the people of Norwich who decide the future of the Labour Party. And if you want to know what they think about Labour recently, I think I've still got this in here. This is the council. I'm just going to have to put this in fresh. Sorry, while we're live. But this is how it turned out in the council. Yeah. Gain from Labour by just 3 seats, mind, but a gain nonetheless. So, Andy Burnham or not, I think people would still go for the Greens. Not a great plan. Not a great plan for anybody who's thinking that's going to happen. Don't know what Richard Bergen might think about that scenario.
You must already have an
as it
idea, though.
stands,
You'll have a gut feeling, surely.
Well, I think it's very easy to say that anybody who's been in Keir's top team can't be the departure from Keir that we need to turn this around with the public. You mentioned Andy Burnham. I certainly think he'd be a great improvement on what we've got. He's done a great job in Manchester bringing...
Right, I've not seen this interview yet. Let's see what he does think.
The buses into public ownership, but crucially, he's also said he would involve all wings of the party and cooperate with other parties in a mature way in order to prevent the threat we face, which is a reform government. And that's why I keep coming back to this point, that anybody who's been around Keir in the top team, when decisions have been made about the winter fuel payment cuts, about disability benefit cuts, about Keir's approach and the Cabinet's approach to Israel's war on Gaza and the genocide there, anybody that's been mired in the scandals around Mandelson, and we've seen, freebies and the rest of it, those people can't be the solution to the existential crisis we face. We can only do this once. We can't end up like the Conservatives, changing leader again and again and again. And
Richard, you well and truly have. They well and truly have. Please defect. Just go independent. I'm not saying you should join Greens, your party, whatever. Go it alone. As I said, I'm sure they'd still back him in Yorkshire. Because he's completely aware of the problems that Labour face. He's completely aware of how far against public opinion they go and how completely past the wrong side of the moral line they now find themselves.
that's why we need a proper, full democratic process, not some sort of palace coup or coronation rush through in a matter of days. And I'm really concerned.
I don't care if it's a coup. I have to be honest. They happen all the time for a lot worse reasons than this. I don't care if there's a coup. If there have to be a few shady but technically legitimate tactics going on in there. We've seen it all before. The politicians to get what they want. We've seen Keir Starmer do that before. We've seen him abuse the House of Parliament. He recently prorogued it to distract from this, Ukraine lads trial that's going on. For example, we saw how, and he's mentioned Palestine there, we saw how the SNP's motion on a ceasefire in Gaza was really, really appallingly quashed by Lindsay Hoyle and the Labour Party. Really despicably bad fashion as well. You want to talk about coups? They're all over the place, so if they're going to be all over the place, can we at least not use one to get this guy out of office?
Could be exploited by people on the right of the party who want to close down the contest and end up with the coronation.
As you've said, I'm interested, therefore, you want to see a new face. The initial reaction from Keir Starmer is to bring back old faces to the decision-making team. Harriet Harman, the former Prime Minister Gordon Brown. What do you make of that response?
Well, Gordon Brown and Harriet Harman are, of course, both widely respected in the Labour Party. And the roles
the change that was promised. It's more of the old.
But the roles that he's in.
Well, Richard, I've agreed with a lot of your fine points there, but do have to say, the 91 MPs who found themselves out of the job because of Gordon Brown, that was the 2010 election. I don't think take too kindly to him at the moment. And there's since then been no love lost for himself or Tony Blair and what they did during their government, what they did to the Labour Party, the eradication of Clause 4, for example, which strictly and specifically stated that the Labour Party was a socialist democratic party. They tried the mantra of who else have they got to vote for. They've tried the mantra of you can only win from the centre, and it's turned out to be a load of bollocks. And Mandelson, Alistair Campbell, Tony Blair, they can all stick that right up their balls.
That he's appointed them to are important. However, if he thinks that bringing back Gordon and Harriet means that he can carry on as Prime Minister and lead us over the cliff into getting a reform government, then he's wrong. You know, the new Prime Minister could keep both Gordon and Harriet on in those positions. So a cabinet reshuffle isn't enough. Appointing respected figures from Labour's history.
Well, Harriet Harman, again, some time ago now, but caused controversy. I say controversy. It was absolutely abhorrent. Essentially insinuated that there was nothing wrong with children wanting to be in relationships with adults. Yeah, that Harriet Harman. Respectable? Come on. Well, it really is scraping the barrel. If he was running the country by asking a magic 8-ball, he'd have done a much better job than he has at the moment. What is he doing? Asking ChatGPT how he can mess this up even more?
Isn't enough. Only a real change, not just in the person at the top, but in the complete direction, can do what's necessary. And I think that the new leader would need to start off by apologising to the public for the mistakes that have been made on the winter fuel payment, on the disability benefit cuts, on Israel's genocide against the people of Palestine.
There is no way, Richard, look who you're talking about. There's no way in a month of Sundays that Keir Starmer is going to apologise for that. He's a Zionist without qualification. He said it himself. Fully bought up, paid up member of Labour Friends of Israel, completely beholden to the Zionist lobbies. Benjamin Netanyahu's got so much fucking shit on him that he can't move a square fucking inch at the moment. He's completely got the strings on him. He's completely controlled by Israel. There's just no way. There's just no way he's going to do it. That's unrealistic to expect that as a prospect. Yeah, whatever happens in this relaunch, whatever reshuffles there are, those sort of things won't be apologised for. It's pretty much what the entire Labour Party is there for at the moment. They're not there to serve the British public. They're there to serve the Israeli government.
and would need to start up by apologising and saying the real work starts now on delivering the change that you voted for back at the general election in 2025. So anybody who's been in his cabinet doesn't really...
We have heard that ad nauseum, Richard. We have heard it so much. I've turned it into a fucking sort of game for PMQs. We've heard it so much, it makes my nose bleed. I've heard the word deliver so much that it is literally given me a psychological complex, a reactional trigger complex. So please, no, we don't need to. No, this is the real check. We're really going to do it now. Just the same phrases again with the word really and very in front of them is the absolute last thing that I or anybody else needs to hear. Richard, you were doing quite well for a while there, but to expect this and what you said earlier in terms of apologies as a realistic solution, I think it's no, that's beyond the scope of reality.
Fit that bill because they can't at this moment of existential crisis for the Labour Party, and they can't at this moment where Nigel Farage is stepping closer and closer to the front door of number 10.
Well, they have. The reason why he's at the gates of Downing Street now, Nigel Farage, is because the path has been left wide open for him by Keith, by Sunak. Johnson, May, even Truss for a brief time, Cameron. It's been going on for years. It's been lurking like wolves in the shadows for some time now. And they've done nothing. They've done nothing. Clive Lewis. Okay, I did mention that that Burnham scenario, perhaps Clive Lewis might step down. He's actually one of the people who's called for Starmer's resignation as well. Let's see what he had to say about this whole charade, this absolute slaughtering in the local elections.
Keir Starmer is completely out of touch with reality. In effect, he has become the story. We can't govern while he's there. That's very clear now.
So are you one of the 20 MPs who are saying that he should set out a timeline to go?
Yeah, that's right. And I think
you are?
Very much so.
Right. Bringing in a new leader, what's that actually going to mean for voters?
I think what you have to see was what has happened over the last 48 hours is that millions of people have voted with their feet.
Well, he's been very open. Of course, not everybody who signs these things is as open as Clive Lewis is here. But again, the question was put to him about what that would change, and I can't reasonably expect any change whatsoever. It's now over 30 MPs, I think they said 20 in that clip, but it's actually 30, and Angela Rayner's been making some noise as well, as William Kajani from the Canary will explain here. This is what's been going down earlier today. Perhaps she could be potentially standing herself or looking to back Andy Burnham. Keep your votes coming in the poll, though, for who you think might challenge Keir Starmer. If they did so, would be successful.
Events are afoot as the battle to replace Keir Starmer takes shape. Angela Rayner has come out with a public statement saying that Andy Burnham should not have been blocked, saying that Labour has to change course and that it risks becoming a party of the well-off rather than the working class. Earlier today and overnight, Catherine West, of course, went public with a leadership challenge for Keir Starmer. Now, she's been seen as much of a stalking horse, but this potentially sets events in motion. The Telegraph today also reported that West Streeting has told Keir Starmer that he's ready if it all comes crumbling down. So his big speech tomorrow apparently will be the last chance he has to really convince his MPs that he can reset things, but many already really have their mind set after the disastrous results this week. We could be going headfirst into a Labour leadership election, and at the moment, some people are saying West Streeting is the best place to win it. Angela Rayner, of course, waiting to try and sort out her tax affairs with HMRC. It is all going down. We are going to see a lot of political activity over the next few hours.
William Kajani from the Canary. Link in the description for the Canary. Good source of alternate media as well. The heat's well and truly on. I guess by this time tomorrow we'll know what Keith's had to say for himself. Again, don't get your hopes up. Up next, in the aftermath of the elections, Ashok Kumar, who I featured recently on another stream. This time he's from the Green Party, by the way, his spokes. This time found himself on GBB's. And this guy, again, did a really good job of standing his ground as these, ridiculous accusations come across, the likes of which we only come to expect from the tax dodging, air quotes, news channel. Right, let's check this one out. Let's see what's happening, people. This is Ashok Kumar.
All right, is this Gaza or Great Britain?
Right,
what about this?
This is your chance to bring change to your streets and to your roads. So you must come out, vote for.
And here is some independents celebrating their victory.
So, well, Ashok himself, excuse me, will go into why this is really pathetic, the way that they're trying to frame this. But the way that he was lining up those examples there, God, have you ever seen anything like this? What about this? What about this? Like, what are we looking out for? It's people celebrating a victory and so on. It really is pathetic framing from GBB's. But yeah, let's hear it from Ashok Kumar.
Do you not think that sectarianism is going to be an issue for your party, as there's a just so broad of the Greens?
Alex, I have to say those videos are just shocking. Brown people speaking, brown people dancing, brown people voting, brown people being involved in their community. Shocking scenes. Not Britain, not the Britain I know, Frankly, I don't know how we put a stop to it. We've demanded they integrate for decades. Well, they're not integrating, and now they're involved in the political...
I'm shocked. What else am I? What are they... Oh, yes. I feel... Yes, that's the one. Very important. I feel threatened. Yes. I feel threatened by that, which means that my voice should be the loudest because it's feelings over facts. The just shocking scenes there on the streets of Britain. Unbelievable.
Process, and we're like, how dare they be part of the political process? What are we going to do about it? The main party's got to do something about it. One day, someone could be voting for a Labour Party politician or a Tory Party politician. They go into a ballot box, they vote Green, and all of a sudden, he's an Islamist, and it's sectarian. Oh my God.
Well, look, Ashok, I know you're trying to defend this, but you won't have a leg to stand on when I reveal the fact that, speaking of standing, they were literally stood there and, in fact, wearing sandals. Yeah, so if that's not reason enough to be terrified, then I don't know what is. Lock your windows, lock your doors, make sure that you sleep safe at night. These people talking, voting, and celebrating a victory with dancing could be in your local area or district as we speak. Is anybody going to do anything to stop this menace? Oh, so weak from GBBs, isn't it?
What are we going to do? I mean, this is obviously silly.
Today, I'm afraid, is the politics of Gaza and other causes around the world being imported.
The politics of Gaza. What in the pissing hell is that supposed to mean, man? The politics of Gaza. What? Being opposed to a genocide? Is that what you mean? There was, the way they always try and twist things, the way that they appropriated the word woke, for example, and the way that they twist that sort of thing. But the politics of Gaza. We've heard things like student politics before, which essentially means anything progressive. We've heard that from the so-called centre, neoliberals, and the far right alike. The politics of Gaza is just standing up and saying, don't kill kids, something that's so reprehensible to you. Fucking hell. There he is with his fucking Union flag pin badge on there. I bet he's got a full duvet and curtains set as well. Fuck me.
To the streets of the United Kingdom, and most British people don't want it. So I hope that the Green Party will start to respect the vast majority of British people in this country who care about their communities. And
well, actually, the vast majority of people in the UK oppose the genocide in Gaza, but go on there, Mr. Billings over facts. Who is this douche?
Their country. They don't want to know about Gaza. What they want to know is about where they live and the best interest of the United Kingdom.
Can I respond?
Yeah, go on briefly, and then I'll bring in the others.
Well, you don't get to decide what people care about. We've gotten the second largest vote share in the country with 18%. That means people care about the politics that we're putting forward. And it's not that we provided the arms so Israel could to perpetrate a genocide. We provided the intelligence so they can perpetrate a genocide. Our government is doing that. This isn't some politics outside. We're spending resources, money, and the moral fiber of our society in order to defend a state that's perpetrating a genocide. That's what people are against. You're going around telling we should...
Yep, it's our taxes were complicit. Disgust me. And whether you're paying, the income tax, council tax, VAT, whatever it is, everybody should be appalled. This guy certainly isn't. I don't know. Does anybody know who he is? Not like yeah.
Let me finish. You say, what does deporting people have to do with local elections? You're running on one policy. Let's deport all the brown people. And so that, but you're running that. You're running that on local. You think local councillors? You think local councillors have the power to do that, Rich? Do you think local councillors have the power to do that?
No, the Reform UK government will do it.
Yeah, but the Reform UK ran.
He's even trying to deny that they just want to deport all brown people. I don't think he is, which says a lot, doesn't it? Nina Sadie, nice to see you in chat. Doc, we got, and Harlech as well. Yeah, look at them squirm. This is terrible.
Have more room, more room for housing, for hospitals. We don't have police. We don't have the school places.
It's not a binary choice between not being complicit in genocide and yada yada, hospitals, bins, schools.
To have huge numbers of people coming into
you don't have the power to do that.
We don't have the infrastructure.
You don't have the power to do that.
Okay, all right. I think the argument back is you wouldn't have the power to stop what's going on in Gaza.
No, but the things that we are running on locally is to say, for example, pension funds at the local level should be divested.
Yeah, people's pension funds get swiped and used for a whole range of abhorrent things as well.
Companies that are profiting from a number, Waltham Forest, other councils that have voted on this also. Green.
Okay.
Yeah, that's argument from GBB's. Doesn't look at this face. Look at that guy. What if? Oh no! I've had my arse handed to me in my own backyard. Well, if that's the best that they've got to throw at our shark, they're not going to get very far. Well done, yeah. I've been seeing him quite a lot more on. As spokes, I should say, and quite impressive. Needy, thank you so much, Nina Sadie, for the 5 gifted memberships. Awesome to see you. Thanks for that contribution. 113 now. Yes, we've pulled ourselves back over into three figures. It's now 113. Nice stuff. They've all gone through as well. Hope you all. Jonathan Lemon Wrestling Show as well, being one of the recipients. I don't know if you watch our streams, Jonathan, but yeah. One of the more interesting members' names. Not that it's a contest. Let's please big up Nina in the chat, please, everybody. Brat brat. What a great audience.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Dig that. Something else we can dig. Yeah, like I said, it looks scary when you see the full results and plus 1,400, whatever it was, for reform. You're like, oh Christ. It looks like they're going to clear up at the next general election, and then you see, of course, that translation of the results, which I showed you earlier, and it's also in the most recent video that came out today. Check that out if you've just joined us on stream. Give us some hype points on that as well if you can, please. Check it out on a mobile device. Hit thumbs up. That should facilitate the hype points, which don't actually cost anything. They're free and they renew every week. But yeah, when you look at that translation, again, seems particularly foreboding. Twinned with recent polls that we've seen of late, you would perhaps be forgiven for thinking that Reform are going to come out with a clear and solid majority. However, people, you have to look deeper. You have to look closer. It could all be, I don't know, an illusion, as it were. Because when we actually do get to the next general election, whenever that might be, whatever happens with Keith, I can't see there being one this year, even in our wildest dreams. But let's assume it goes as scheduled, which would be 2029. Seems a long way off. It might not be quite as different as you think. So when you look at the electoral map of the council results, you might expect to see, of course, swathes of teal, turquoise, whatever, light blue you'd like to describe it as, all over the place, instead of Labour. Which is how it looks when you look at the results of Labour losing way over 1,000 seats and Reform gaining way over 1,000 seats. But not necessarily. This is actually how it looks visually on the map. Yeah. Because, of course, nothing in Wales, nothing in Scotland. The victories only came in England, small pockets in the northeast, as you can see there, some areas of Newcastle, Sunderland, Tyneside, Wearside, small pockets around the northwest, sort of just on the border with Wales there. But in a lot of the seats that I brought up before in the northwest where Reform seemed to have had success. They only removed control away from Labour. There's still a lot of no overall control in many of those areas. Of course, here in Greater Manchester, in Manchester proper, there were great successes for the Greens, as there were in London as well, though, as you can see on the map there. Small successes for reform, and the biggest pocket there coming in the Midlands. So it's not, the country's not painted teal by any means. All of the grey areas are run by not reform. That's in England, Wales, and Scotland. Yeah, completely nothing at all in the extreme southwest of the country as well. Devon, Cornwall, those sort of areas, Hampshire. So, not as bad as you might think. Perhaps reasons to be cheerful more than reasons to be fearful, as it were. Because I do like to try and stay optimistic, do try and stay positive. There is one inescapable, unignorable fact that I'm going to emphasise in just a moment as well. That if it carries on, is going to perhaps project an even more positive picture.
If these trends continue, hey!
So once again, let's remind ourselves of the current trends at a national level. The Greens are the only party that are on the rise, and what a rise it is as well. That hasn't slowed down or changed recently. Zach Polanski's personal approval ratings continue to increase. This goes up to March of this year, of course. We're just into the second week of May now, but it is pretty much as described on the chart. So yes, Reform came out on top in the local elections recently, because as you can see, they still remain top of the pile in terms of percentage. But if you follow those lines through, if you extend them as you extend the x-axis with the dates, eventually, sometime between 27 or perhaps potentially late this year, the lines of the Greens would intersect with the Tories first, and then, of course, Labour shortly after, and then eventually Reform, which is the more important one later into 2027. So you'd be looking at a two-horse race, basically, between Reform and the Greens, or, should the election come later, talking as scheduled in 29 or mid to late 2028, then according to these trajectories, the Green Party would actually have a firmly solid lead in the polls. Others as well, that would of course be independents, that sort of thing, a good chunk of whom would be socialist, would be on the rise as well, as you can see, not so much as the Greens. But just back to that translation chart again that we saw earlier, that did already put the Greens in second place, which would actually be a better performance than you see in this chart from March of 26. So according to actual results, they have already surpassed the Tories and Labour. The lines have interceded. So this chart, I think, always has to be considered at all times. And in terms of vote share difference, the Greens were actually the only party that won more seats this time around than they did in the last round of local elections last year. Sorry, they were up the most. The Tories also up 2%, but they lost hundreds, but they didn't lose as many as they lost last time. It might seem counterintuitive, but that's the way these things go down. You might think, hang on, they lost whatever it was, 400 or 500 seats. The Greens, of course, did gain over 580 seats in England and Wales, but Reform are actually down 4%, the lowest in terms of vote share, which is quite interesting. Even more than Labour. They took a walloping at the last one as well, of course, did Labour. Again, counterintuitively, despite small amounts of gains, was it about 70 odd seats, or 170 odd. Lib Dem down 1%. So Greens up, Reform down again. This is going to be emphasised in this clip from the other co-leader, as I said we'd be hearing from earlier in the stream. This is Machel Millward, who's been making several appearances recently. She was on the late night live broadcast of the local elections. Has actually been doing some pretty good spokes here in summarising just what things mean for the Greens and why, despite Reform's apparent successes, it's actually the Greens who have their foot on the accelerator at the moment.
We've had a record-breaking set of results. I mean, it far outweighs any previous performance we've had. We also are the only party whose vote share increased overall. So even Reform's vote share actually came down. Ours went up. And so we're on a journey. We're at the beginning of a new chapter for the Green Party, really, when we are a serious force in British politics. I mean, we've exceeded our expectations up and down the country. You know, it's from Newcastle, Norwich, amazing breakthroughs in London. But we're really delighted with Hastings. And what's great there is we had a minority administration who just did some brilliant work, you know, managing to balance the books, starting council housing for the first time, doing great things in sport and leisure. And obviously the public have gone, more of that, please, and made it a majority, which is really exciting.
Yeah, it's not just been cuts. They've already got a good reputation.
We've had
as opposed to Labour. Sorry, started the clip again. Yeah, as opposed to, of course, Labour, Reform. The amount of controversy, criminal charges, bankruptcy of councils that Reform have been in charge of the last couple of years. Shocking. Just, you know, destroy everything that they get their hands on. You see, people, it's not all bad news. You can't look at that and go, God, oh no, it's all Reform. Believe me, new horizons could be coming. Moisha, nice to see you. How you doing? Yeah, Moisha and I been out on some adventures recently. Check out some recent content, streams and videos actually, if you want to see more about that, when we were down in London recently. Nice stuff. Hope you've been well. Nice to see you on stream as well. Solidarity. Yeah, Labour's drooping tulip dock, the red rose as it was, is now thoroughly wilted. It cannot be revived. Unfortunately, it is, yeah, a shame. It is a shame for what used to be a good party. But that's increasingly historic now. Right. I think I've just got to quickly upload this clip. Oh, it'll take a second. Check out this great speech from Chris Hedges, of course. He appeared outside Westminster Magistrates recently with Tim Crossland. This was concerning their arrest on a previous Palestine march. This time around, he's emphasising why he wants people to turn out in London. I think the next big march is on the 16th, this Saturday, is that right? Yeah. Here he's speaking in Bristol this weekend, and it's more or less all about, of course, the Home Secretary and the police's reaction to protest marches, to protest in general, of course. When you're talking about the Filton trial, when you're talking about the prescription of PAL action, all of that comes into this as well. So I'm just uploading this here. One sec.
Now the police.
I'll just have to resize it very quickly. Sorry to have to do this live. There we go. Right, I haven't had the pleasure of enjoying all of this speech myself yet. It's been a busy one, having a video and a live stream out on the same day. So yeah, I'm going to enjoy this in real time for the first time with you good people. Chris Nynham.
The police and the media and the politicians in the last couple of weeks have intensified their Alice in Wonderland campaign to claim that we are anti-Semitic. This is a deliberate, barefaced lie. They cannot, and we have asked the police, the Metropolitan Police, face to face, time after time. They cannot provide us with one single corroborated incident of anyone, Jewish or not, being threatened or intimidated in connection with our peaceful protests. And this is not surprising because there are thousands of Jewish people on our protests who are always welcomed with applause, with cheering.
Sorry, I might have said Chris Hedges once in the introduction there. Chris Nynham it is, of course, not Chris Hedges. Just saw that name in the chat. I'm not sure if I said it by accident. It's Chris Nynham.
With massive joy that they are there. So we are not going to allow ourselves to be defamed, to be vilified, to be lied about by the establishment. And one of the other ways that we can claim, we can prove that what they are saying about us, that the claims of anti-Semitism are not in good
Joshua,
faith,
very warm welcome to you.
and that they are actually the product, as much of anything, as of a politicised police force in the capital, is that while they're talking about banning our demonstration next Saturday in London, they have opened the streets of the political centre of London to the fascist, Muslim-hating, anti-Semite Tommy Robinson and his bunch of violent thugs.
Shame indeed. And in fact today, there was the so-called march against anti-Semitism, whatever it was called, and it was essentially just full of the far right and Zionists or Zionists, I guess, a complete shit show. Yeah. And to try and ban Palestine marches, I think, is just absolutely disgusting. I don't want to live in a country that bans protest. I don't want to live in a country that does the things why I have to go out and protest. The things that I have to go out and protest against, I should say. Yeah, I'd rather be enjoying other pursuits or whatnot. And I know that the same goes for other people in chat as well. To find ourselves in that scenario, sometimes I find it quite surreal, to be honest, that happens in the country that we live, and that things seem to get increasingly worse, especially where the right to protest is concerned. And I don't think that this worries enough people in the public at the moment. I know that we've all got our problems. I know that we've got poverty that's rampant throughout the country, but it just really cannot be emphasised enough how fundamentally important the right to protest is. So we can't let these bastards take it away from us. We really can't. We've got to stand up and fight against this. Hundreds of thousands of people who show up on the streets can't have their voices silenced at the stroke of a pen by some Zionist prick in a suit. Not on my fucking watch.
It's not complicated. If you don't want to see a rise in anti-Semitism, if you don't want to see a rise in racism, if you don't want to see a rise in hate in our streets, then don't let fascists march to Downing Street and Parliament!
Damn right!
If anyone tries to tell you that our movement isn't making a difference, that A to B marches aren't important, that mass mobilisations and protests don't have an impact, ask them to consider why is it that there is a full-scale, full-spectrum state assault on the Palestine movement taking place right now. And in my opinion, the police are not going to ban us next Saturday. And I'll tell you the reason why they're not going to ban us. Probably the main reason, perhaps the only reason, is that there are going to be so many people on the streets, so many hundreds of thousands of people are coming down to London next Saturday that they wouldn't be able to stop us.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
They can't arrest us all.
And that has translated, that ability to mobilise on a mass scale has translated into a situation which is a big problem for them, which is while they're trying to scapegoat us, while they're trying to vilify us, while they're trying to attack us, the vast majority of people in this country support us. And that is itself a product of the mobilisation and what all of you and what people have done across the country has achieved. But I want to be clear, particularly after the fairly grim election results of the last 24 hours.
They're not that bad. Didn't you hear what I just said, Chris? Well, I might give him a ring. It's not so bad.
Next Saturday is going to be a critical and extremely important moment in British politics. The police will be watching. The media will be watching. The politicians will be watching and counting. And we need to make sure that next Saturday is a blow for the Palestinians and a blow against the creeping authoritarianism and the growth of the far right in this country. We have to turn it into the biggest possible mass mobilisation on the streets of London. And so I ask you now, don't just come yourselves.
Shall I go? Or shall I try and get a small team together? Let me know in chat if you'd like to see that, because I've been considering it over the last few days, to be honest, mulling it over, whether I should go down to this one. That is the channel I haven't really been to or documented many of the large London marches. We've done a few here in the northwest, in Manchester and other places as well in the northwest. I've been considering going down to this one. I was there just recently. Yeah. But if that's what you want to see, that's what we'll do. Let us know in chat.
I've heard there are 4 coaches filled from Bristol. That's good. But I'm sorry to say that is not good enough. Tell your neighbours, tell your friends, raise it at work, raise it in your community. 16th of May is quite simply a day when we all have to be in London and we all have to stand up and be counted. And I want to...
That's figuratively, because to do that literally would take some time. There's probably going to be like 500,000 people there, at least.
Say one last thing. The drive to war, as other speakers have said, is affecting every aspect of all of our lives. The attack on Iran has driven up the cost of living. Politicians are...
Bilderberg, I know it's a good speech, but that might, unless you mean that you're planning on attending, I would hope that it's going to be the latter.
Are openly now demanding cuts to welfare and rises in the warfare budget. 10 countries in Europe have introduced conscription, and the government here is planning some sort of conscription light, which is in the pipeline right now. This is serious. That is why on the 20th of June, the movement is hosting in London an anti-war conference that has an international dimension to build coordinated action across Europe and beyond. There will be thousands of people in Central Hall on the 20th of June from across the continent, from the US and beyond. The Genoa Dockers will be there in person. The school students in Germany who've organised the strikes against...
the Genoa Dockers, they were the ones who they went on strike, and they initially refused to receive any imports from Israel as well.
Conscription will be there in person. Proceedings will be opened by Mustafa Barghouti, who is coming over from Palestine. They will be there. Thousands of others will be there. You should be there too. See you next Saturday in London.
Oh, so that's next Saturday in London. Let us know if you're planning on going. I'll keep you posted as to whether it will be bobbing down. Could happen, potentially. I would imagine that would, although it's not been confirmed, be kicking off somewhere like Embankment. But we'll confirm. This chat. There we go. Sorry, it's been lagging a little. Okay, people, plug time, and it's your plug time. That is for all the members on the channel. We have picked up more on the stream this evening. Thanks again for that. Really is important, helping grow the community. Can't express just how much we really do appreciate your contributions. Super chat's still open if you're watching live. Super stickers, super thanks. And there's the Buy Me a Coffee page in the description of any content on the channel. Another quick plug for the most recent video. That is public now. Do watch that on a mobile device. Hit thumbs up and gift us some hype points. That would be amazing. Yeah, and do share around your social media as well. Give us a follow at My Left Eye UK. We're on Blue Sky, Twitter and Mastodon. If you're on any of those channels, check us out. That's My Left Eye UK. Same logos. You should be able to find us. Good stuff.
Jurassic Park.
I might be able to squeeze in a short brews at 10 tomorrow. Sort of analysis of this speech that we're expecting from Keith. But do hit the notification button. Let's keep up with everything on the channel. We'll be depicting... God, sorry. I'm laughing at something else. No. We'll be dipping back into Keith's Fondue Lounge in just a moment. hang-around people. Going to be redirecting or whatever into some other quality socialist content this Socialist Sunday as well. Yeah, I've not featured any of Laura Kussenberg, actually, or Trevor Phillips, which is quite rare for a Sunday. But if you want some full analysis of Laura Kussenberg, I can also highly recommend Helena at No Justice or Kevin Logan, whom we might be redirecting into momentarily. See who's about. But yeah, if you want to check out Laura Kussenberg from a socialist point of view, they're usually in tandem in conversation every Sunday. Kevin Logan's handle is at Ploppy111, by the way. But you might be getting a direct feed momentarily. When this bastard thing decides it wants to work. Alright. Nina, you're very welcome for the stream. Thanks for joining me. It's great to see you as always. Thanks to everybody. Great audience this evening. Quality audience as always. I think I've done all of the plugs and everything. Yeah. Right, let's get back into the Fondue Lounge. Oh, of course, I have to thank Herbie Ranger and the Supersonics. It's been great to have you fellas back with the soothing jazz in the background. See you again next week, fellas. Where are we? Yeah. Fondue. Either fondue or fondant. Right, people, we have got Helena and Kevin. I'll select Kev. Let's give Kev a bit of a boost. Thumbs up and whatnot when we get over there on the raid. Do subscribe as well if you're not familiar with his channel. Yes, I'll be there for a short time myself. Fresh candy. Why is there lounge music? Why? Because it's a fondue lounge, of course. The most Blairite setting you can imagine. But the party might not be going on for too much longer, of course, for reasons stated on stream. This fantastic scene comes to us from the Agitator, who put this together. Agitate for Change is the handle that you're looking for there on your social media. If you like bits like this, can't take the credit for this one, but yeah, that's the reason for the lounge music, just because that's what I think it fits very well with. There's just some clips I'll never get tired of. Right, but can't stare at Keith and Co. We have to get towards the end of the stream and into Kevin Logan. Thank you very much, everybody, for being on stream. All that remains for me to say is, of course, Free Palestine, Lebanon, Sudan and Yemen. Power to the people. Don't let the bastards grind you down. Don't watch the news, be the news. And my left eye will be seeing you soon. Solidarity, everybody. Happy Socialist Sunday. Night.
It's what Hitler and Goering did, and it is textbook. And if you think the next time it happens, we're gonna recognize it because they're wearing scary uniforms, you're out of your damn